In the following clip, a mother films her young daughter on a quiet afternoon inside their home, doing what most parents do when their kid starts insisting on something strange, trying to catch her in a lie. The mother can be heard asking if she was just playing pretend, and the girl, Navaya, pushes back immediately, completely serious. She gets up from the couch, walks toward the center of the room, and stops near the wall, staring at a spot where there's nothing visible. Watch.
Tell the truth.
I'm not.
You were just playing about a woman over there, right?
Look. She's right there. I just hugged her.
Nevaeh, stop lying.
I'm
like,
not lying.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. So.
Nevaeh, God gonna get you if you lying.
I'm not lying.
Where's she at now?
She went in our room.
Navaya points at what she insists is a woman standing right there, tells her mother she just hugged her, and then moments later, as she moves back toward the couch, her body jerks backward, quickly and abruptly, dropping her onto the edge of the cushion like something pulled her. If you weren't paying close attention, you'd almost miss it. The mother's reaction is skepticism, warning Navaya about lying, but the girl doesn't waver. She claims the woman went to her room. Some viewers think children this age are simply too young to convincingly fake that kind of certainty. Others aren't so sure. Either way, Navaya saw something that afternoon. The question is whether anything was really there to see. Now in this next clip, a woman is doing a silent walkthrough of what appears to be a basement level of a home, moving through cluttered living spaces, narrow hallways, and empty bedrooms, all of it lit by artificial light, windows covered, the kind of place that already feels like it hasn't been lived in properly for a while. She moves slowly through each room, opening doors, checking corners, until the lights abruptly shut off on their own, plunging the entire space into near total darkness. She keeps moving forward anyway, cautiously, until the lights come back on just as suddenly as they went out. No explanation, no warning, as if the house itself decided to interrupt her. Watch.
I've been hearing some creepy noises down here for a while, and I'm scared. I wanted to try and record it, because no one's gonna believe me. Now, as soon as I record it, nothing happens, okay? Huh? No. You gotta be. What the hell? This isn't funny. This has gotta be a prank. Hello? Oh, thank God. Hello? Guys, this isn't funny. Hello? Hello? I'm coming in. Skittles. Nothing. Okay, this is getting weird. What? Is that the chair? Oh, God. I'm getting out of this place. What the? Oh, my God. No!
First the light, then knocking, and she was home alone. Pulse don't give out info of what happened until viewers watch the clip. The second clip picks up in what appears to be the same house, this time with a man doing his own walkthrough, and he's anything but calm about it. According to him, ever since his sister took a video in the basement, a series of loud knocks has been starting every single night at the same time. He describes it as terrifying at first, then just exhausting. The kind of thing that stops scaring you only because it won't stop happening. On this particular night, he goes looking for the source himself, finds a door to an unfinished crawl space standing open that shouldn't be, and makes the decision to unscrew the only light bulb in the room and stand in the dark. Watch.
Since my sister took that damn video every single night at the same time this knocking starts. Terrifying the first few days, but now it's just annoying the hell out of us. Yup, I hear ya. Hey. Nothing. Always nothing. Brand new house too. And now this door is open. To the creepy ass. What the fuck? Oh my god. Oh my god.
The bang that hits immediately after the light goes out is violent, the kind of sound that shuts your brain off for a second, and then the door begins to creak open on its own, and in the door frame you can see something else moving. Some viewers also notice two lights. Some think it's the figure's eyes. Others are still trying to find logical explanations. Maybe there's an electrical fault in the house. Maybe the knocking has a structural explanation. And the figure in the doorway could simply be an object, a person, or an illusion created by the darkness. But what do you think? Was the man really alone in that basement? Now in this next clip, a man is dancing with a young child in his arms at what looks like a family gathering. A campfire lit up in the dark, lively music playing, voices cheering in the background, the kind of scene that should feel completely warm and ordinary. And for the people actually there, it clearly did. Watch.
Míralo, míralo, mi papá bailando con mira, mira. Ahora pues, ¿Qué hubo? Y ahorita mi papá, aquí traen un empate.
Some believe smoke can act as a kind of medium, temporarily revealing a presence that normally can't be seen. In paranormal folklore, unexplained figures appearing around fires are sometimes interpreted as manifestations because fire and smoke have long been associated with spiritual rituals, communication with the dead, and the boundary between the physical and spiritual worlds. Some paranormal believers take the interpretation even further. There is an old superstition that when a strange figure, shadow, or unexplained shape appears around a person in footage like this, it can sometimes be interpreted as a death omen, a warning that the person the figure appears to be following may soon pass on. Of course, there is absolutely no evidence that seeing something like this means a person is going to die, and the footage could still be nothing more than smoke reacting to the heat and movement around the fire. But what do you think? Now in this next clip, a woman is home alone in her mother's house, a large, modern place filled with natural daylight, when something in the back hallway stops her cold. She's been on the phone with a friend talking about strange things happening in the house, and within minutes, those strange things apparently decide to make themselves heard. No children have been at this home in months. Her nieces and nephews haven't touched the toys back there in ages, so when a children's toy suddenly starts singing by itself, she grabs her phone and starts filming, clearly already rattled before she's even found the source. Watch.
I have ghosts in my house. All of a sudden I'm sitting here and I hear a child's toy going. I hear a child's toy going off back here. By the way, no child has been here. No. What? I think it's up here. so scared. My mom's grandkids. Don't touch those. Why would the child's toy be going off if no kid has played with them in months? Like, I kid you not, my nieces and nephews have not touched these toys in months, and all of a sudden it starts singing today? No. Oh my god. After I was just on the phone with my friend telling her I had ghosts in my house. Let me show you. My mom bought this Annabelle doll a couple of years ago. When we first got her, she was facing forward like this. Every day, she's been slowly turning to look out the window. We think that she's mad because my mom puts stuff on top of her box and she doesn't like it. I should mention, the day after my mom brought this Annabelle doll home, my mom broke her ankle in the room right over there in the corner. And then a couple nights ago, my mom tripped on something in the middle of the night. We don't know what she tripped on and got a concussion in the back of her head. I'm scared.
Skeptics would have an easier explanation for the toy. Old electronic toys can malfunction, batteries can corrode, and damaged contacts can sometimes cause unexpected sounds or activation. The doll's changing position could also have a completely ordinary explanation, especially if other people have access to the room. But paranormal believers would look at the sequence differently. The idea of an allegedly haunted doll bringing misfortune to the people around it is deeply rooted in modern paranormal folklore. Stories surrounding dolls like Annabelle often involve the belief that an entity can attach itself to an object and then influence the environment, sometimes through movement, unexplained sounds, or a series of unfortunate events involving the people nearby. And that's where the injuries become the detail believers focus on. They might interpret the timing as more than coincidence. The doll arrives, something happens to the mother, the doll allegedly changes position, and then another unexplained accident occurs. In that interpretation, the injuries aren't necessarily random. They're seen as signs that whatever is supposedly attached to the doll is becoming more active. Of course, 2 accidents don't prove that a doll caused them, and there is no reliable evidence that objects like this can cause paranormal harm. But if you genuinely believe that a doll in your mother's house was moving on its own, while children's toys were suddenly activating by themselves, would you really keep it there? Because at that point, the question wouldn't be whether the doll is haunted, it would be whether you're willing to take the chance that it is. This next clip was recorded during a daytime investigation inside one of Orlando's historic cemeteries, a location that, according to local paranormal researchers, has drawn investigators for years due to the number of unmarked and children's graves scattered throughout the grounds. A woman with blonde and pink hair is kneeling in the grass in front of a small, plain gray gravestone. And she's not alone. 2 other investigators are just off camera. She's brought a teddy bear with a light embedded in its chest and 2 small toy dinosaurs, one blue and green, one red and black, and she's using them as a way to ask whatever might be listening to make a choice. The idea is simple. If you want the green one, light up the bear. Watch.
Both flashlights. If you want the green one, turn on the blue flashlight. If you want just the black one, turn on the red flashlight. Or if you want both of them, you can turn on both flashlights. I'll put the dinosaurs by them, so you know.
And then you can choose which dinosaur.
Turn on the light for the one you want.
Or you can keep them both. You can turn on both flashlights.
Oh, you want the green one? Okay.
That's amazing. Thank you for letting us know.
you.
We'll leave the green dinosaur for you. Thank you so much.
It was really nice talking to you.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Do you want to touch the bear again? Or I have another device if you want to listen to some music. If you want to turn on a flashlight, I'll get a device and you can play some music. They're playing with the dinosaur now. They're like, oh, I'm done. I'm playing with the dinosaur.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh, the light just turned on.
Do you want the black dinosaur?
You can have the black one too.
Then they can play with each other.
Oh.
Do you have your Optimus?
I do, but...
Oh, it's going off. My one's going off.
Is there anything else you want to tell us? Any stories? Is there anything else you want to tell us? You can either play with the bear or you can turn on one of the flashlights if you want to tell us something.
If you want to talk more, I have other devices we can talk.
3 separate times, the bear's chest light activates, each one timed almost exactly to a question being asked. The K2 EMF meter in the corner spikes into the orange and red as the responses come through, and the group's reaction shifts from curious to genuinely moved. Many believe moments like this point to residual child energy, a spirit that never quite left the place it was laid to rest. Others think the bear's sensor could be picking up natural electromagnetic fluctuations. But 3 responses, 3 questions, you decide what that pattern means. This next clip was recorded by a man who says he was lying in bed late at night watching TV when his streaming service suddenly timed out. It was a completely ordinary moment, but almost immediately after the screen went quiet, something in the room caught his attention. Watch.
I was laying in bed watching some fucking goddamn shit. This turned off. Then I went to go grab a drink and for some fucking... Are you fucking joking? Can you please fucking stop? Do you see? This is starting to get more fucking sketched out. Actually, to be honest with you, like I'm starting to get more scared. Like, as we go along.
A bottle sitting on the table suddenly moves on its own, sliding across the surface without anyone visibly touching it. It doesn't look like much at first, but it's the kind of movement that makes you question what you just saw. There's no obvious hand reaching toward it, and the bottle appears to move after the room has already gone completely still. A skeptic could point to a slightly uneven table, a slippery surface, or even a subtle vibration that isn't obvious on camera. But paranormal viewers would focus on the timing. The television stops, the room becomes quiet, and almost immediately, the bottle moves. Some would interpret that as a possible response to the sudden change in the room, especially if the man had already experienced unexplained activity before this recording. Was it simply a bottle shifting on an uneven surface, or did something unseen decide to make its presence known? You decide. This next clip was recorded inside a woman's bedroom late at night, and from the very first second, something in the dark hallway of her home refuses to stay quiet. She's been filming with her phone, and you can hear her speaking in Spanish, calling out into the darkness, asking whoever or whatever is there to identify itself. A high-pitched mewling sound answers her. It's not a cat. She knows it. Tú no eres un gato, she says out loud. You are not a cat. The sounds escalate, growing from a whimper into something that sounds genuinely pained, almost pleading, but wrong in a way that's hard to put into words. Then she commands it to leave. Watch.
Muchachos, hay algo allá afuera. Estamos viéndolo. ¿Quién eres? Tú no eres un gato.
Ay, ¿qué es eso?
Vete de aquí, ¿quién eres?
¿Qué es eso?
¿Quién eres? Te estoy grabando. ¿Quién eres? ¿Por qué estás aquí en mi casa? ¿Tú no eres un gato? Tú no eres un gato. Te ordeno que te vayas de mi casa. ¡Ah! No manches. No manches. ¿Qué es eso, Regina? Se abrió la puerta. Se abrió la puerta. Se abrió la puerta. ¡Uy, güey! Se me abrió la puerta. Vámonos, 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 vámonos. Regina, están tocando. Préndelo. Ya le hablé a la policía. Y ahorita va a venir. Tráeme un palo, Regina. ¿Qué es eso? Tráeme algo, tráeme algo. Va a venir ahorita la policía. Corre. ¿A qué estás molestando aquí? Ya te habías ido. ¿Qué quieres? ¿A quién quieres? ¿A quién quieres? ¿A Regina o a quién quieres?
¿Cómo que a mí?
¿A quién quieres? Vete de aquí. Vete de aquí. Se paró. ¿Quién chingados eres? ¿Quién te mandó?
What you heard in that hallway didn't respond to her voice like a person would. It responded like something that understood the challenge. the shriek that follows her command, the bang, the door she says opened on its own, and then, in the second half of the clip, the figure. In Mexican and broader Latin American folk tradition, there are beliefs around entities called naguals, shape-shifting spirits tied to animals, sometimes described as beings that can mimic the sounds of creatures in distress to lure people closer. The cat-like wailing fits that description in a way that's difficult to dismiss. Others watching the clip have argued the masked figure is simply a person, a prank, a stalker, someone in a costume, but that explanation doesn't account for the sounds in the hallway, which seem to come from something that never had a physical form at all. Two separate threats, or one thing that moved between the dark and the outside? Regina and her friend never got a clear answer. Neither does anyone who watches this. The following video is about Nate, a man who still hasn't been able to figure out what exactly he's dealing with or how to stop it. Over time, the activity in his house has gone from unsettling to genuinely alarming. He's been waking up with unexplained scratches on his body and hears footsteps moving through the house when no one else is there. One morning, after finishing his workout and preparing breakfast, he started hearing a clicking sound. At first, he assumed it was the TV, maybe even the heat vent, but after listening more closely, he realized the sound was coming from the kitchen. It sounded exactly like a stove burner clicking, the noise it makes right before igniting. Concerned it could be a gas issue, Nate rushed into the kitchen to check, and that's when this happened. Watch.
The pan is still on the stove, still warm. All the burners are off. But I kept hearing the clicking, like the burner was trying to come on. Like I said, I just finished cooking. I was sitting there drinking my coffee, and I was hearing. And it sounded like it was... Go. Why with the knives? Why with the knives? Why? Why with the knives?
The clicking sound alone was disturbing, because this was the first time it had ever happened. But what really pushed viewers into panic was what followed, the knife. For the fact that this wasn't the first time, many believe this moment marks a shift in whatever Nate is dealing with. Paranormal researchers often say there's a difference between passive activity, noises, footsteps, shadows, and intentional aggression. Throwing objects, especially sharp ones, is widely considered a warning sign. And the most terrifying part is that Nate hasn't figured out what to do next. So, until more updates are given, this case remains completely unsolved. This next video was captured by a home security camera. Around 2 a.m., the homeowners received a motion alert and decided to check the footage, expecting maybe an animal or someone passing by. But what they saw left them shaken. Watch. The family replayed the clips several times, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. When they were unable to come up with a logical explanation, they shared the footage with a few of their neighbors, hoping someone might recognize the figure, or at least explain why it looked so disturbingly human. The video ended up spreading, and longtime residents of the area immediately knew who, or what, the figure resembled. According to locals, the apparition looks strikingly similar to a woman who died in a car accident near that very stretch of road back in 1948. For decades, people who've lived in the area have quietly shared stories about a woman seen walking late at night, appearing briefly, then vanishing without a sound. Some believe spirits tied to sudden deaths don't realize they're gone, repeating the same path night after night. Others think certain locations become imprinted with trauma, replaying fragments of the past like a broken recording. What makes this even more unsettling is that the family who captured this footage had only recently moved in. They had no knowledge of the area's history, no stories passed down, no warnings. So for now, all anyone can hope is that appearing and disappearing in the dead of night is all she ever does. Now, in this next clip, Kyle heads down to his basement early in the morning, and this time it's nothing like what he's dealt with before. In the past, it was children giggling, soft footsteps, the sound of something small moving around. But this morning, it's loud and violent. Watch.
Footsteps all freaking night. Who's knocking on my basement door?
When the noise stopped, Kyle opened the door and found no one there. At first, he went for the simplest explanation. Maybe someone heard him coming and ran, maybe it was a prank, or maybe there's a logical reason he just hasn't thought of yet. But that theory falls apart almost immediately. Outside, the ground is covered in fresh snow. If anyone had been down there, child or adult, there should have been footprints leading away from the house, but there were none. Whatever was by the door didn't leave the way a physical person would, or maybe it didn't need to leave in the first place, because it's in the house just changing how it manifests. Some believe this suggests the activity is evolving, because it once sounded playful, now it feels aggressive. For Kyle, this isn't just another strange moment to shrug off, it's another unanswered question in a situation that keeps escalating, and becoming harder to explain. So until more updates are shared, this one remains unsolved. In this next video, a family says they've been tormented by relentless knocking late at night. Sometimes it's light, other times it turns into aggressive banging on the front door, loud enough to send the children into tears. The father has tried everything he knows, cleansing the house, daily prayers, asking for protection, and each time it works, but only temporarily. One night they woke up again, but this time it wasn't knocking that pulled them out of sleep. Listen closely.
Sí, pero... No. Pero no es... No, ya sabes que no es la niña, ya sabes que no es la niña, ya no vas a ir aquí. Ya sabes que no es la niña. Pues espérate. Está aquí afuera, ¿ah?
Sí, no habrá pasado algo.
No, tú tranquila, no pasó nada, es eso que nos habla. Pero no le voy a abrir. Voy a bajar. No mames, güey. Ah, cabrón. Miren, amigos, no hay nadie. Es de madrugada y mis hijos no están, se fueron a dormir con su abuela. No hay absolutamente nadie. Escuchan los ruidos. Uy. Escuche. Yo creo que ya no es hora de estar. Se escuchó aquí. Son casi las 2 de la madrugada. Ya les mostré. No hay absolutamente nadie. Ya está todo cerrado. Está todo cerrado y me voy.
What immediately unsettled viewers is that the voices being heard sound like a girl, yet the kids in the house who are old enough to speak weren't even home that night. But there's another detail people couldn't ignore. In the house is a Labubu doll. While Labubu is widely known as a collectible designer toy, online forums are filled with unsettling stories tied to it. Some owners claim their dolls move slightly when no one is around. Others report unexplained knocking, whispering, or a sudden shift in atmosphere after bringing one into their home. A few even say activity escalated after prayers or cleansing, a detail that eerily mirrors this family's experience. Skeptics argue the doll is just a coincidence, a harmless object becoming a focal point because fear needs something tangible to attach to. But others believe objects don't have to cause paranormal activity to become anchors for it, especially in homes where something already seems to be present. What makes this case disturbing is the pattern. The knocking stops after cleansing, then returns, the voices mimic children who aren't there, and whatever is happening doesn't seem driven away, just temporarily pushed back. So is the doll acting as a trigger? Or is this something entirely unrelated, using familiar sounds to provoke fear? I'll leave you to be the judge on this one. Now, this next clip was recorded inside a retirement home, a building with a quiet but unsettling history. Long before it became a care facility, the property reportedly served as a private infirmary in the early 1900s, taking in patients who were considered too difficult for hospitals at the time. Several former staff members have claimed that deaths were frequent, poorly documented, and often handled during overnight hours to avoid upsetting residents. Over the years, rumors spread about certain rooms being avoided by night nurses, especially those on the upper floors. At around 3 a.m. one morning, this happened.
Oh, I know where that's at.
We have left God's path to follow our own. The sins of us all. I can't think of any better reason to do the next good thing today, so let's pass on. I'm Alex, and this reverse of the day, I'm positive, encouraging K-Love.
We work with a lot of dead people.
What makes this moment disturbing is where the man recording was standing. Before the radio started blaring, he was directly below the room and didn't hear a single footstep above him. So, who turned it on? At first, staff tried to brush it off as a one-time glitch, but about an hour later, it happened again.
Dude, no. 'Cause no. Dude, no.
Oh, hell no. It turned on again? You're lying.
And someone had to turn the dial all the way the other way for it to be doing this. I don't know what's going on.
Again this time, there were no signs of anyone entering or leaving the room. Months later, after a string of more subtle occurrences, doors found unlocked, lights switched on in empty rooms, the faint sound of movement in halls long after residents were asleep, the man experienced something far more unsettling. Listen closely.
I am hearing shit. And it sounds like me.
Different words can be heard clearly. Phrases like, "What are you doing?" And then, as he stood on the stairs, a voice saying, "She's coming." In places like retirement homes, where residents, nurses, and night staff move quietly through dim corridors, some believe spirits linger, attached to routines, rooms, or even specific people. So what's the case here? Now in this next clip, popular Midwest ghost hunter Ian continues his investigation inside the infamous Boyd house. His next stop was the children's room, a space filled with old, unsettling dolls. The last time Ian was here, this section of the house left him more shaken than any other. This time, he carefully scanned the room, trying to see if anything or anyone was present.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god. Holy moly. I'm not alone. I am not alone in here. Okay, just calm down. Let's take a look.
What makes this moment especially disturbing is that just moments earlier, Ian had clearly seen the bear sitting completely still beneath the chair. As if that wasn't enough, just as Ian prepares to leave the room and move on to the next section of the house, something else happens.
Look in that room with the cursed painting again. I don't know.
Oh, what the? What the?
What the? That sounds like jiggling, like a doorknob.
Who's in here? The hairs on my arm are standing on end right now. I literally heard like a jiggling sound. It sounded like a doorknob. I don't know. Is it this one? Did you just jiggle this doorknob? Maybe it's one of the dressers. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. I can hear it. It is coming from the closet. Look at that. That thing is moving. I can hear that clear as day. Why are you jiggling that doorknob? Are you in the closet? Just trying to keep my camera on it in case it moves. Look at it. Dude, it is moving. Do you hear that? Look at it. Is there someone behind this? There's gotta be someone. Look at that, dude. You can literally see it moving. Dude, the door's moving. Oh my god. Oh, jeez Louise. That door is shaking.
The closet doorknob began rattling violently on its own, as if someone was standing just on the other side, trying to get out. This wasn't the sound of settling wood or a loose latch. The movement was forceful. Children's rooms are often said to be hotspots in haunted locations, not because of the children themselves, but because spirits are believed to use toys and familiar objects to provoke attention or fear. And in this case, it feels less like playful activity and more like something reacting to Ian's presence. The question is, was whatever moved the bear the same thing trying to get out of that closet, or something else entirely? This investigation is far from over. For more haunting videos including Ian, subscribe to the channel now. The following video was recorded around 2:40 a.m. when a man wakes up alone in his dark bedroom and quickly notices something's wrong. The cupboard door across the room is open, and the light he always leaves on as a warning has gone out. He explains this quietly in a hushed and clearly frightened voice, saying he covers that light while he sleeps so the glare doesn't hit his eyes, but he keeps it on specifically so he knows when what he calls the haunting hour has begun. Tonight, it's off, and that alone tells him something has already started. He keeps the camera trained on the dark doorway at the far end of the room, barely moving, barely breathing. Watch.
Where's the cupboard open? The lights are off. You see, I normally keep that light on because that's how I get to know the haunting has begun or not. And that's why I've actually covered the lights so that it doesn't glare on my eyes while I'm sleeping. The cupboard is open right now. I'm alone in the room. It's at the door. Stop it! Stop it, please! Go fuck yourself, Jerry. Go fuck yourself. Shit. I'm not gonna stay here.
What starts as an uneasy silence erupts into something far more aggressive. Loud, metallic banging striking the door repeatedly, then a door handle rattling with violent force, the kind of sound that doesn't leave much room for a rational explanation. He shouts at it to stop, pleads with it, and then for just a few seconds, it does. The silence that follows is almost worse than the noise, and then a child's voice comes out of the dark, soft, clear, and completely disembodied, saying, "Daddy?" He doesn't hesitate. He screams back at it, calling it Jerry by name, which means this isn't the first time something has spoken to him like this. A loud crash follows immediately, as if whatever is in there responded to being called out. He scrambles out of bed and runs down the hallway toward the front door, not stopping once. Many believe mimicry is one of the most disturbing tools a negative presence can use, borrowing a voice that bypasses logic and hits somewhere much deeper. So, what exactly is Jerry, and why does it know what to say? Now, in this next clip, a woman who works in an emergency room starts noticing something she can't explain during one of her overnight shifts. A vital signs monitor in an empty room keeps powering on by itself and displaying readings that, according to every rule of how that equipment works, simply shouldn't be possible. She'd already reset the monitor, turned it off, confirmed no patients were assigned to it. Watch.
So there's nobody in this room. The leads are against the wall. And that's what it's reading.
The monitor is showing a heart rate, 56 beats per minute at first, then slowly climbing, then dropping down into the 40s before the leads off alarm triggers. She pans the camera down to show you the leads hanging loose against the wall, not attached to anything. "There's nobody in this room," she says. "The leads are against the wall, and that's what it's reading." Some believe hospitals hold residual energy from patients who pass there, something that imprints on the equipment itself. Others aren't so sure. What exactly was that monitor picking up? The following clips were all recorded by the same man, and taken together, they paint a picture of something building. Something that started with a strange sound in a dark attic and kept getting worse no matter what he did. In the first video, he's out in what appears to be a shed or garage during the day, working on tools, when he starts hearing something coming from a closet in the back, one that leads up into an attic through a fixed wooden ladder. He openly admits he's never been up there, not once since he bought the house. He's clearly unsettled even before he opens that door. Watch.
You can believe me or not, I don't care, but listen to this. I'm out in the shed, working on tools. Listen, if I hear it again, dude, I swear to God, there's something up in this attic, man. I'm not getting up in here and shit. Do you hear that? Dude, oh my God, bro. Oh my God, man. There's something in this neighborhood, dude. Oh my God. Dude, I don't know what to do in a situation like this. Do you hear this shit, man? This thing was built before I bought this house, man. I've never gone up here one time. What was that, man? There's stuff up here. Left from the previous owner. Oh my. Oh my God, dude. Oh my.
Twice, from somewhere above, a high-pitched wailing sound rises out of the darkness, something between a cat meowing and a baby crying. He shuts the door, opens it again, hears it a second time, and then, against every instinct, he climbs up anyway. The moment the camera breaches the attic floor, the sound hits again, close, sharp, and this time almost forming a word. He drops the camera and the video cuts. For a lot of viewers, that specific quality of the sound is what stuck with them. It's too structured to be wind, too close to be a stray animal on the roof. Some people pointed to the possibility of a trapped animal. Cats in particular are known to find their way into attic spaces and produce sounds that can genuinely unnerve people in an enclosed space. But others weren't so quick to explain it away, especially given what came next. In the second clip, he's back. Same shed, same attic, same setup. And this time, he tells the camera he's already been out there and heard more noises since. He makes his way to that same dark opening and calls out into the black. Listen closely.
So if you watched my first video, if you believe it or you don't, that's fine. But I have been hearing some noises up in the attic in my shed. People told me to be quiet. You try to do this. But I've been out here, already heard some noises, so... People said it could be raccoons and shit. So if there's raccoons or pigeons, I don't. Hey, is anybody up here? Is anybody up here? Oh my God, dude. Oh my God.
When he asks, "Is anybody up here?" something answers. A loud bang hits back from the darkness almost immediately. Sharp, deliberate, like a response. He asks again. And then, from deep inside that unlit space, something releases a guttural, multi-toned roar that doesn't match any common animal sound. He runs. That sound is the detail that split viewers most. Skeptics argued it could be a large raccoon or even a fisher cat, an animal notorious for producing shockingly aggressive and non-human vocalizations. But the way the bang responded directly to his question, the apparent call and response quality of it, is the part that's harder to rationalize away, because random animal noise doesn't typically time itself to what a person just said. By the third visit, he's back with his phone's flashlight on this time, and you can tell he's been losing sleep over this. His knees are shaking before he even gets to the ladder. He pushes the camera up into the attic and calls out a third time. Watch closely.
All right, you guys don't believe me, and that's fine. I've been out here again trying to organize these tools. I'm going to show you what I've heard up there, and I've seen something moving. So you can believe me or you don't have to. I don't care, but watch this shit. My knees, I'm literally shaking. If you guys... All right. How do I turn the light on this? All right, I got the light on. Listen to this. Listen to this. Dude, I'm telling you, man. Is anybody up here? Is anybody up here? Oh my God. Is anybody up here? Hey, is it? Oh my
On the attic floor, a small metal object slides several inches with no visible cause. Then, deeper in the space, a dark container near the back moves, and a solid, humanoid figure rises from behind it, silhouetted against a faint light at the far end. It holds there for a moment, then lunges. He screams and the camera goes down. That figure is what the entire comment section fixated on. Some people immediately called it a person, someone squatting in the attic, possibly a trespasser who had been living up there undetected, which honestly might be the most disturbing explanation of all. Others pointed to the shape and the way it rose, too abrupt, too still before it moved, and went somewhere else entirely. In paranormal communities, the idea of an entity that occupies enclosed, liminal spaces like attics and crawl spaces has a long history. Some traditions describe these as threshold guardians, presences that are drawn to the boundary between lived space and forgotten space. Whether or not you buy that framing, the figure in that attic is not easy to dismiss. That changed everything. Then came his Ring camera. He shares a clip from his property at dusk, showing a dark, indistinct shape near the tree line at the edge of the yard, and the audio that came with it is unlike anything in the earlier clips.
Oh, I'm done. I'm done. Look at this video. But I have no words for whatever that noise was. And where the fuck is my Ring camera? I just got that today. Dude. Thoughts? Comments? Man, I'm almost speechless.
A series of guttural, wet-sounding grunts and wheezing roars erupts from the direction of the woods. His dog, heard barking in the background the entire time, is frantic. And then the Ring camera itself is physically grabbed or knocked from its position, the view lurching violently before the footage cuts. He comes back on camera afterward looking genuinely shaken, asking where his camera even went. The sounds from the tree line don't match the attic vocalizations exactly. They're heavier, more animal. But the pattern of something responding to his presence, then making physical contact, lines up in a way that's uncomfortable to ignore. Some viewers familiar with Dogman or Bigfoot encounter reports pointed to the vocalizations as consistent with those cases. Others weren't ready to go that far and suggested a large territorial animal, possibly a bear. But a bear doesn't knock a security camera off its mount with apparent intent. And whatever had been in that attic didn't behave like a bear either. The most recent clip in the series brings a different kind of dread. It's 5 in the morning, pitch dark, and he's in a room near a window he left open in the hallway. Listen closely.
Listen to me right now. It is 5 o'clock in the fucking morning, and I hear something coming out of my window. Shit. Oh my god, I need the light on. There is something walking around outside of my window.
Seriously, did you hear that? Rewind it if you didn't. What was that? I was in my room down the hallway and I left the den window open and I was hearing like walking and twigs. It did not sound like normal. And I was like, shit, I left the window open. And that's what I heard. Hold on, there's more.
I could hear it down the hallway. You hear that? Where is it coming from? I can't see it. Goddamn.
Could I be blowing this out of proportion? I mean, possibly, but like I genuinely heard something. Listen to it, rewind it, and turn it up and tell me if you didn't hear something too. You know, and mind you, that was at 5 o'clock in the morning.
2 soft, deliberate taps land on the glass or wall from outside. Then, immediately after, a raspy, disembodied voice whispers what sounds unmistakably like, "Come here." He cuts to a daytime debrief in his car to explain what he was hearing. Walking, twigs, movement near the window. And then the nighttime footage resumes and a prolonged scratching sound begins along the exterior wall, like something with claws is dragging itself along the outside of the house. He whispers that he can hear it moving down the hallway. He can't see anything through the screen. That whispered voice is the detail that most people couldn't shake because the sounds in the attic were strange, but they were sounds. A voice is something else. It implies awareness, something that knew he was on the other side of that window and wanted him to open it. Whether that's a person, an animal that has learned patterns, or something that has been circling this property for longer than any of these videos have been rolling. I'll leave that to you to decide. But what I can tell you is that across all 5 of these clips, the activity hasn't stayed in one place and it doesn't seem to be stopping. The following video was recorded approximately 3:29 in the morning by a security camera overlooking an outdoor swimming pool. The footage is silent, shot in infrared night vision, the water sitting dark and completely still. The lounge chairs lined up empty along the deck, nothing moving anywhere in the frame. Watch. A bright, semi-transparent shape materializes directly over the center of the pool, vaguely humanoid with a defined head and torso, and drifts slowly across the water's surface, shimmering and distorting as it moves, casting a faint reflection on the dark water below. Then the camera glitches, flashes a strange circular distortion, cuts to black for a split second, and when it comes back, the figure is completely gone. If you focus on the way it moves, it's not the erratic scatter of an insect near the lens. It drifts with a kind of slow, deliberate weight. Some viewers think the glitch and the disappearance happening at the exact same moment is too convenient to be coincidence, as if whatever it was didn't leave, it took the camera out with it. What do you think was floating over that pool at 3 in the morning? The following video is about a family in Mexico who have been dealing with relentless paranormal activity inside their home. Not the kind that builds slowly over weeks, but the kind that hits hard and doesn't stop. Night after night, something in this house makes itself known, and the man filming, who goes by Amoroso Max, has made it his habit to grab his phone the moment things start happening. On this particular night, it starts with knocking. Loud, rapid, aggressive banging with no clear source. The kind that fills the whole lower floor and seems to come from everywhere at once. His wife is already awake, sitting up in bed with their child beside her, her expression making it clear this isn't the first time they've been pulled out of sleep by something they can't explain. He tells her to stay put and heads downstairs alone, whispering into the dark, trying to find where it's coming from. Watch.
De nuevo. ¿Escuchaste? No te vayas a asomar, quédate aquí. Eres. No me quiero asomar. No me quiero asomar. No mames, cabrón, ¿qué es eso?
No mames, cabrón. Oh.
What he finds down there is genuinely terrifying. A pale, hollow-eyed face appearing briefly in the upper pane of the door before he screams and runs. Many believe what appeared at that window fits the description of what some paranormal communities call a watcher, a presence that doesn't enter but observes, testing boundaries before something worse follows. The activity doesn't end there. Another night, the same house, the same man, but this time the threat comes to the door. Watch.
Tranquila, ¿eh? ¿Qué quieres? Oye, ¿escuchas? ¿Qué quieres? No te voy a abrir. No te voy a abrir. Cálmala, niña. Tranquila, mami. No te voy a abrir. Vete. Oye, no manches, ¿viste? Vete. Esto es impresionante. Lárgate, lárgate de aquí. No te voy a abrir, lárgate. Lárgate. Tú no perteneces aquí. Vete.
Standing on the other side is something using his wife's voice, calling him by name, begging to be let in, while his wife stands right there in the room behind him, holding their daughter, watching with wide eyes. He refuses to open the door and tells it to leave, and that's when the voice stops sounding human entirely, dropping into a deep guttural growl before going silent. This is a pattern that appears repeatedly in paranormal reports across Latin America and elsewhere, an entity that mimics a familiar voice to get someone to open a door, a window, or lower their guard. Some researchers who study these cases believe this behavior is consistent with what's traditionally called a nagual in certain Mesoamerican belief systems, a shape-shifting or voice-stealing presence associated with deception and spiritual intrusion. Others apply the more familiar label of a mimic, a broader term used in online paranormal communities to describe any entity that copies human voices or appearances without fully understanding what makes them convincing. What's harder to explain is the transformation. A recording glitch doesn't go from a woman's voice to something that sounds like that. If you listen to the moment the voice changes, it's not a cut. It's a slide, a degradation, like whatever was holding the imitation together simply gave up. Then comes a third night. This time the family is together watching television when a sound drifts in from the dark hallway, something that resembles a child's cry, high-pitched and distressed, coming from a space where no child should be. Listen closely.
No manches, están escuchando como la niña, mira. Mira, escucha bien. Estamos viendo la televisión, miren. No es muy tarde, pero la verdad sí. No mames, güey. No mames, cabrón, qué pedo, güey. Eras tú, Ceci. Era toda tu cara, Ceci. Yo no sé si grabaría bien, pero si eras tú. Están cerrados los cuartos, ¿verdad? ¿Qué vives aquí arriba? Deja los niños, Ceci, deja los niños. Voy a cerrar.
podemos ni estar viendo una película normal.
A figure who, according to him, looks like his wife was at the doorway. He grabs the camera and moves through the dark room, past a baby stroller and a rocking horse, up the narrow stairs, checking each closed door. Nothing. The rooms are all shut. Nothing is out of place, and yet that sound came from somewhere. What strikes people who followed this family across multiple videos is the escalation. It went from knocking, to a face at the window, to something using a human voice, and now to something that looks like his wife. Susie says it plainly near the end of the clip. They can't even watch a normal movie anymore. And she's right. What starts as a disturbance has become a presence that follows them through every room, every hour of the night, and whatever it is, it seems to know exactly which sounds will make them move. So what does something like that want? The following videos were recorded by the same man, someone who's been quietly documenting strange activity inside his garage and utility closet for weeks now, going back through old footage and realizing just how much he'd already missed. In the first clip, he pulls up a recording from weeks earlier and replays it for the camera, zooming in and slowing it down so you can see exactly what he almost overlooked. Watch.
So I don't know what made me miss this in a video, but I just went back and rewatched a video from weeks ago, and I just saw something that absolutely blew my mind, and I don't know how this happened. That fell down, and that black arm or whatever that was retracted this way that quickly. Where would it have gone? How could that even come from this direction? I know plenty of people said in the comments, what is that thing? What is that? I didn't really look at it until now. If I were to have dropped that down with something and maybe lifted it back up, there's no way that it would have retracted this way. What type of tool or instrument could have done that? Yo, how did I miss that? And like always, she's not coming in here. This place isn't right.
As the box falls from inside the cluttered utility closet, a long, dark, limb-like shape rapidly retracts to the left and disappears behind the wooden shelving, moving with a speed and direction that he insists no tool or instrument could account for. He traces the path with his hand, pointing out that whatever it was moved horizontally into solid structure, with no logical exit point. His dog, visible through the open doorway, refuses to come inside, just lies in the yard, watching the building from a distance. That detail alone keeps coming up in cases like this. Animals don't perform for cameras, and she'd apparently never been comfortable there. Some viewers think the dark shape is simply an object falling and casting a shadow, but others point to what looks like a defined tip, almost finger-like, before it vanishes, and argue that no falling object produces that kind of directed lateral movement. The second clip takes place in the same garage, this time in broad daylight, with sunlight streaming through the glass pane door. He walks in to grab his weed eater, works on it, pulls the cord a few times until the engine catches, then heads back outside. Listen closely.
Video you're about to see now is when I walk into the shed, I grab my weed eater, I start taking care of the backyard, and this is what you hear the second I walk out. I feel like I can hear something when I'm in there, but when I walk out is when it really amps up.
While he's still in the room, low, distorted guttural sounds run underneath the ordinary noise of him moving around, barely audible, easy to dismiss. But the moment he steps outside and the room goes empty, something changes. A sharp bang rings out, and then, for roughly 15 seconds, a deep and modulated growl fills the space, rising and falling in pitch, complex in tone, nothing like a mechanical sound or an animal. He says he didn't hear any of it while he was standing right there. That's the part that's hard to shake. In EVP research, sounds captured on recording equipment that weren't heard in person are considered among the more compelling forms of audio evidence. The idea being that certain frequencies register on microphones but fall outside normal human perception. Skeptics will argue the audio is edited in, but the security camera footage, static, wide angle, no cuts, makes that harder to dismiss cleanly. Whatever is inside that building seems to be most active the moment it thinks no one is listening. Now in this next clip, the footage comes from a home where the resident claims something has been imitating familiar, everyday sounds, and according to him, it isn't the first time it's happened. By the time this recording begins, he's already suspicious enough to have his phone ready, because the noises seem to follow a pattern. Watch. From the darkness at the bottom of the staircase, he begins hearing what sounds exactly like his ringtone. The problem is that his phone is already in his hand. According to him, there is no second phone in the house making the sound, leading him to believe that whatever he's dealing with is attempting to lure him downstairs by reproducing a noise it knows he would instinctively respond to. And if that wasn't unsettling enough, the activity reportedly continued. In a second clip, the same presence appears to try a different approach. Watch closely. This time, the sound isn't a ringtone, it's his alarm, a noise specifically designed to demand attention. Many paranormal enthusiasts believe this kind of behavior fits perfectly within modern reports of mimic phenomena. Unlike traditional ghost stories where apparitions simply appear, mimic encounters often revolve around manipulation. Witnesses frequently report hearing their names called, familiar voices speaking from empty rooms, babies crying where no child exists, phones ringing when they are not, or footsteps that seem designed to lure someone toward a specific location. Some folklore traditions go even further, warning against immediately responding to unexplained calls, whistles, or voices heard from darkness, particularly if the source cannot be identified. The belief was that certain entities gain influence by encouraging interaction, drawing attention first, then gradually escalating their attempts to be noticed. For now, he says he's actively searching for ways to get rid of whatever he believes is in the house, hoping to put an end to the disturbances before they escalate any further. But until he shares another update, one question remains. If it can imitate the sounds he expects to hear, what happens when it starts imitating the voices he trusts? The following video dates back to 2016, when a lady was 9 years old, spending time at home with her cousin, doing what most kids do, playing around, recording random moments, and not thinking too much about what might be happening in the background. Years later, after strange things in the house began to resurface, unexplained sounds, subtle movements, and that persistent feeling that something wasn't quite right, she decided to go back and review old footage, hoping they might have missed something back then. And that's when she found this. Watch closely.
Dude, what the heck, man? Who are you? Hello? What was that? Did you guys see that? Vines. Come on. Come here. Hello from the other side. Run outside. walking really funny. At least I got that on camera. Bye.
First, an unusual light appears. It's brief, easy to miss, but clearly there. And then, something else. A figure. When she reviewed the clip again as an adult, she said the shape looked like a baby figure. Small, low to the ground, and oddly formed. But once the video was shared, people had very different interpretations. Some were convinced it didn't look like a child at all. They believed it looked like a demonic figure. Others made a different comparison entirely, saying it resembled Pennywise. For context, Pennywise is a fictional entity from It by Stephen King, often portrayed as a shape-shifting being that commonly appears as a clown to lure children, but is actually something far more sinister beneath the surface. It's known for taking forms that feel familiar, yet deeply unsettling. And that comparison only made the clip more disturbing for viewers, because if something in that video really did resemble a child, then it becomes harder to explain. In this next video, a bus driver who had been working late shifts for years shares something that completely changed the way he viewed those quiet, empty routes at night, especially because he was used to long hours, isolated roads, and the kind of silence that most people would already find unsettling, yet had never experienced anything he couldn't logically explain until this particular night. After completing his final stop, he did what he always does, checking through his rearview mirror carefully to make sure every passenger had gotten off, scanning each row from front to back until he was certain the bus was completely empty. And once he confirmed there was no one left, he began the drive back to the station, already thinking about heading home to his family after a long day. For a while, everything felt normal. The road quiet, the bus steady, nothing out of place. And then, this happened. Watch. While he is driving, with absolutely no passengers on board, a voice suddenly echoes from inside the bus, loud enough to be clearly heard, saying, "I'm getting off here." But when he checks again, there is no one there. Some believe this could be a case where a past moment somehow imprints itself onto a place and replays under certain conditions, especially in environments like buses that carry countless people and experiences over time. But until more clips are shared, this one remains unsolved. Now, this next video was recorded by David, a name some of you might already recognize, especially if you've been following the channel for a while. For those who don't know, David once brought home a doll, something that seemed harmless at first, maybe even interesting because of its age and appearance, but not long after, he realized it was the biggest mistake of his life. His nights became restless, filled with strange figures appearing in his room, fleeting shapes that never stayed long enough to fully understand, and a voice that would wail in the dark, sometimes calling out different names, none of which he recognized. It got so intense that he eventually locked the doll inside a cage, placing a Bible and rosary on top of it, hoping it would contain whatever was attached to it. But even that didn't stop it. One night, after falling asleep, he had a nightmare so vivid it forced him awake. And when he opened his eyes, he saw this. Watch.
Tenía una pesadilla y despierto. ¿Por qué me estás jodiendo a cada rato? ¿Qué quieres? No entiendo qué es lo que... Ese, el quemado. Ese. Y no sé si escucharon lo que... No entendí muy bien. Pero... algo se escuchó. ¡Ah! Ahora sí sentí mucha adrenalina. Se desenfoca. No sé qué gana. Estoy escuchando música aquí de relajamiento. O sea, estaba durmiendo. Ya son las, ¿qué? 4:51 de la mañana. No entiendo. No entiendo. En serio, ya no sé qué hacer. Alexa, luz del cuarto blanco frío. Joder.
According to David, this isn't something he's seen once. He claims that same face appears to him almost every night, but the moment he switches on the light, it's gone. No movement toward the door, no sound of footsteps, and no space under the bed large enough for anything to hide. Now, did the doll bring something into his life? Or did it simply reveal something that was already waiting? You decide. The following video was recorded by a CCTV camera inside a man's home, capturing something that only came to his attention after he had already left the house for the evening. He had stepped out briefly with his nephew, who was visiting for the holidays, and everything seemed completely normal at the time. The house locked, quiet, and empty, just the way he left it. But on their way back, he received a notification from his security system, the kind that usually signals movement or unexpected activity inside the house. At first, he assumed it was nothing serious, maybe a minor glitch or something small triggering the sensor, but when he opened the footage to check, he saw this.
D. Front. Door. Center. Center is open. Disarm now. Disarm now.
After he shared the video, a lot of people were quick to dismiss it, suggesting that someone must have been inside the house, that the whole thing was staged, or that it was simply a person checking the room before entering. But that explanation raises its own questions, because if it were a person, why do the eyes reflect like that? I'll let you be the judge on this. In this next clip, a man shares an experience that began in the most ordinary way. Something as simple as going downstairs in the middle of the night to get a glass of water, a routine that should have taken only a few minutes, quiet, uneventful, and easily forgotten by morning. But as he made his way through the house, he started hearing something unusual. A voice, faint at first, almost blending into the silence, but clear enough that he knew it wasn't just his imagination. It didn't sound like a television or a phone left playing somewhere, and it definitely didn't sound like something coming from outside. It sounded inside the house. Curious, but uneasy, he decided to trace where it was coming from, slowly moving toward the direction of the sound, trying to make sense of it. And then, he saw a strange figure. Startled, he immediately ran back upstairs, his first instinct not just to get away, but to record it, especially because he had already brought in someone to bless the house before moving in, sensing from the beginning that something about the place didn't feel right. Watch closely.
Entonces pues sí me despertaron y me dio sed. Entonces bajé por un vaso de agua y me regresé corriendo. Quiero que vean esto. A ver si todavía está ahí. Es que siempre que les quiero mostrar algo, parece que desaparece para hacerme quedar mal. No, sí, sigue ahí. No sé si se esté viendo. Hay algo ahí parado. y está altísimo. No sé qué es. Perdón con la luz, es que mi perro se está atravesando. Y si lo suelto, va y le ladra y me da miedo que vaya a pasar algo. Ay Dios, ahí se ve mejor, pero se ve más feo. Ya, deja de moverte. Perdónenme. ¿Hola? ¿Hola?
Some believe it could be tied to the house itself, something that was already there long before he moved in, and that the blessing may not have fully removed whatever presence remains. There's also the idea that shadows like this are not just random appearances, but deliberate observations, something watching, learning the layout, understanding the person living there. Until more updates are shared, this one remains unsolved. Now, this next clip was recorded by a family's security system, something they originally installed both inside and outside the house for a very practical reason. They foster dogs, and with multiple animals moving in and out over time, they needed a reliable way to monitor activity, keep track of movement, and make sure everything stayed under control, even when they weren't actively watching. For a long time, the cameras only ever captured what they expected. Dogs wandering around, the usual sounds of a busy home, nothing out of the ordinary. But over the past month, something else started appearing, something that doesn't move like a dog and doesn't resemble any adult living in the house either. Have a look.
Alright, so break it down again. Where is it? There's the arm.
Arm, leg. There's gonna be another leg walking here.
You see it go over the snow.
Arm, leg, and another leg.
So if that's a leg, what's that? Is that the baby with somebody?
At the moment, they don't believe it's anything dangerous. In their view, with the number of dogs constantly in the house, any real threat, especially something physical, would have triggered a reaction. Dogs are known for their sensitivity to unfamiliar presence, and if something was truly there, they assume the animals would have barked, reacted, or shown signs of distress. But that assumption is exactly what unsettles some viewers. Some theories suggest that certain entities don't register as physical threats, meaning they can exist within a space without triggering the usual instincts in animals. Others believe that if something is subtle enough, it can move through an environment without drawing attention. And then there's a more unsettling possibility that whatever the camera is picking up is already familiar with the space. Familiar enough not to disturb the dogs, and familiar enough to move without being challenged. What do you think about this? Or are there some other reasons we're not seeing? The following video was captured by a CCTV camera at Ronald's workplace, a location that, according to several employees, had already been the subject of quiet conversations long before this footage ever surfaced, with workers occasionally mentioning glimpses of black shapes passing through hallways, reflections that didn't match anyone present, and that lingering feeling of being watched even in areas covered by cameras. But it wasn't until this clip went viral that those concerns became impossible to ignore, with many employees reportedly pressuring management to take action, convinced that whatever had been dismissed as imagination was now clearly visible on camera. Watch closely.
Kaya bakit na ako doon? Punta na ako doon. Sa baba ako dumaan eh.
Nakalaki nga yun, bukas na.
Sasara niya ng biglayan kasi nga gano'n ba? Ang talaga yung mga sa kikala ka. Maganda yung sa... Ano kami yun? Ayun na po. Kita mo ako paano sa Marvel dito?
Napakahiwaga. Kapal niya na. Ang lakas nun sa kanya, no?
Dark shapes move through the space, and some viewers believe it's actually one shadow, moving so quickly and unpredictably that it creates the illusion of multiple figures. Others are convinced it's something far more unsettling, that these are multiple shadows, different entities moving within the same space, overlapping, crossing paths, each one existing independently. You be the judge. The following video was recorded inside a family's home. A quiet, carpeted bedroom, a floor mirror against the wall, soft light coming through a sheer curtain on the far side of the room. A toddler girl, no older than 2 or 3, is standing with her back to her mother's camera, singing softly to herself, completely at ease, swaying, lost in her own little world. For about 30 seconds, nothing feels wrong at all. Then, it does. Watch.
What's wrong?
Hey, what's here?
No one's here. What happened?
It's cute.
You scared? What?
Mid-song, she just stops, turns her head slowly toward the curtain, and something in her body language shifts in a way you don't expect from a child that age. She turns to face the camera, her expression serious, and tells her mother she's scared. Then she points directly at the corner near that curtain window, and says there's someone over there. The mother confirms no one else is in the room. Many believe young children, especially toddlers, are more attuned to things adults simply can't perceive. Others think it's imagination, but that shift, from singing to frozen to pointing, happens in seconds, and it's hard to explain away. What do you think she saw? Now, in this next clip, a young woman is resting inside her apartment late at night when something in her room sends her into a full sprint out of the building, and she doesn't stop until she's outside on the street, gasping, hands shaking, camera rolling. Watch.
Oh my god, I think there was something in my room. I don't know.
Once she's outside, she finally stops, and that's when she turns the camera up toward a second-story window, her window, where something is standing in the light, unnaturally tall and walking around the room like it owns the place. Some viewers suggest it could be a trick of perspective, shadows stretching across the room, furniture distorting under light. But that explanation struggles to account for the movement, the way the figure moves, the way it carries a form that doesn't break apart like light usually would. Others lean toward a more paranormal explanation, suggesting it could be something tied to the apartment itself, possibly the presence of a former occupant, something that remained behind and now occupies the space in a way that overlaps with the living. But even that theory raises questions, because the height of the figure doesn't quite align with something familiar or human, making it feel less like a lingering presence and more like something entirely different. And that's where the discomfort settles in, because whatever she ran from didn't follow her out. It stayed behind, moving inside her apartment as if it had every right to be there. But with no further updates and no explanation that confirms what she saw or what remained in that room after she left, this encounter continues to sit in that space between possibility and uncertainty, with no clear answer in sight. The following video was recorded by an overnight caregiver who'd been noticing something strange in the home where she worked. Every night, around the same time, sounds would start moving through the house. Shuffling, creaking, the kind of noises that made it impossible to stay asleep. Now, this particular home had a female patient who, according to her medical situation, doesn't walk. So when the sounds kept coming back, she decided to do something about it. She pretended to fall asleep, hid her phone beneath the covers near the couch, and let it record. The room stays dark, and for a while, nothing seems out of place until something, or in this case, someone appears in the hallway. Watch. A woman emerges from the far corner of the hallway while hunched forward at the waist, feet planted apart, completely still, staring directly toward where she's lying. She doesn't move. The caregiver says she stayed like that for over an hour. Many viewers believe what they're seeing is something that goes well beyond a medical condition. Others aren't sure what to believe, but that image, that stillness, is hard to explain away. Now, in this next clip, a mother named Cora is dealing with something that's been shaking her household for a while now. Her young daughter has been suffering from night terrors so severe that the family has decided to move. It's the middle of the night, just past 2:42 a.m., and after her daughter woke up screaming in distress, Cora got out of bed to walk her back to her own room. The child is quiet now, but that silence feels heavier than the crying did. As Cora follows her daughter down the dark hallway and into the bedroom, she notices something that stops her mid-sentence. Her daughter has gone completely still, staring at the far wall without saying a word, then starts to cry. Watch.
I'm scared.
Scared? Are we scared, baby? Come on here, pickle. Okay. Good girl. It's okay. There's the vent right there, baby. See? The vent pushes the door. You're fine, okay? Are you a big girl? Feel scared, just remember. Baby Lenny's here, Mommy's here. We're all gonna be together in the same house. It's gonna be okay. Let's go to bed. What's wrong, Cora? Sweetie, what are you afraid of? You're scaring me, honey. I don't see anything.
The window suddenly closed violently, and there was no wind, no storm, or anything else that could explain the force. Many viewers point out that the child seemed to already know something was wrong before it happened, standing frozen and staring directly at that window for several seconds beforehand. Others think she'd sensed it all night. But you be the judge. The following video was recorded by a man working a night shift at what appears to be an industrial or commercial facility, and from the very first few seconds, something about the way he's filming makes it clear he already knows he isn't alone. He's shooting from a hidden position, wedged behind a door frame, camera trembling in his hands. Watch. A dark humanoid silhouette can be seen in the window frame. Head and shoulders, clearly shaped like a person, holds for roughly 2 seconds, then snaps back and disappears. Whatever he just saw, he's seen it behave this way before, and that alone makes this unsettling in a way a single random anomaly never could be. Some viewers think it's a person hiding and taunting him, but others point out the figure's movement is too fluid, too deliberate, and that the darkened shape doesn't quite match the proportions of anyone who should be there. That question doesn't get answered because the same man, or someone connected to this location, ends up back on camera again later that same night, this time inside a security room, checking the monitors, clearly shaken by a fresh round of sounds he can't explain. Loud knocking and banging echo from just outside the room, but every camera feed shows nothing. He moves into an adjacent locker room and sets his phone on the floor. Watch closely. If you look closely at the boot, you'll see it moving like someone trying to turn from one direction to another. But the thing is, no one was wearing the boot. Then the doors start opening, locker after locker. A lot of viewers who've watched the full footage describe it as one of the most sustained, escalating sessions of unexplained activity they've ever seen. Not one event, but a cascade that keeps building until it becomes impossible to stay. What would you do? The following footage was captured by the security camera in Jorge Cruz's house. During a quiet night, everything is still for several minutes until this happens. Watch. That chair slides backward and rotates on its own. Smooth, deliberate, covering a foot or two before stopping completely. Then a shadow moves across the room, but there's no one in the room. Some viewers believe it's consistent with a residual presence, something that doesn't know the space is empty and is simply continuing to interact with it. Others aren't convinced and point to the possibility of a wire just outside the camera's frame. Now, Jorge Cruz decides to try something he's been told might help with the activity inside his home, lining the doorway with salt to keep whatever's there from crossing through. He explains the plan directly to the camera, pours a thick, unbroken line across the threshold, then turns the lights off and waits. That cross on the wall flips upside down, not gradually, not with any buildup, just instantly inverted with a heavy thud. And then the salt line, the one Jorge spent time carefully laying down, disappeared, creating a clear gap in the barrier he built. By the end of the footage, the rocking chair in the corner has started moving on its own, slow and steady, with the doll still sitting in it. A lot of viewers in the comments believe Jorge made a critical mistake, not in using the salt, but in announcing it out loud first, essentially telling whatever was there exactly what he was doing and giving it time to respond. Whether the activity that followed was provoked or had already been building to this point, Jorge himself seems to believe the salt didn't stop anything. It only made it worse. Now, if something in that room was willing to scatter a protective barrier and flip across in the same night, the real question isn't whether the salt worked, it's what Jorge does next. The following video was recorded during the day, with sunlight pouring through the window behind a man who was standing in his own living room, holding up his phone to record something he'd noticed in the dark reflection of his powered-off TV screen. It wasn't night. It wasn't some dimly lit hour where shadows could be excused. It was broad daylight. And yet, in that reflection, something was there. Watch.
Is it? Am I tripping or is that? Someone's sitting on my couch, but like, there's no one there. What? But like, there's no one there. There's no one on the couch. Oh my god, it's gone.
A dark, human-shaped silhouette is clearly visible sitting on the sofa, slumped slightly forward in the TV's reflection. But when he swings the camera around to the actual couch, it's completely empty. Pillows, a throw blanket, nothing else. He pans back to the screen, and the figure is gone too. Some think this could be a residual presence. An imprint of someone who used to sit in that exact spot, briefly visible in a surface dark enough to act almost like a mirror between spaces. You decide what was sitting on that couch. In the following clip, a man is lying in bed at night when he notices something strange under the white duvet beside him. A large shape and two pale hands with dark discoloration on the fingers gripping the edge of the blanket from underneath. His breathing is already frantic as he reaches over and begins to pull the cover back. Watch. First, he sees hands, then, when he checks the narrow gap between the mattress and the wall, something looks back at him. For just a fraction of a second, a pale, distorted face with wide dark eyes and messy hair peers out from that gap, directly at the camera, before vanishing. It's there, and then it's gone. What makes it so hard to dismiss is the way it appears. Not rushing, not retreating, just watching, as though it had been there the whole time he was searching. Some viewers immediately recognize the visual as something close to what's described online as a crawler, a term used in modern internet folklore to describe pale, emaciated humanoid figures said to appear in narrow dark spaces, watching before they act. But I'll leave you to be the judge. The second clip was recorded by a young man who lives with his grandfather and has spent months documenting a series of strange incidents involving him. According to the uploader, this isn't the first unsettling video he's shared. On multiple occasions, he's reportedly found his grandfather standing motionless in corners of the house, staring into space for long periods of time, behaving in ways that he says feel completely out of character. Eventually, he decided to start recording some of these moments. Watch.
Essa porra tá vazando, tá um cheiro. Deixa eu passar aí. Peraí, deixa eu passar aí. Look, come. Look. Look.
At first glance, it appears to show his grandfather standing in the room as usual, but if you look closely, viewers notice something deeply unsettling about his face. From the camera's angle, it almost appears as though he has no facial features at all, no visible eyes, no distinguishable expression, just a smooth, darkened void where his face should be. Naturally, many viewers were quick to suggest a simple explanation. Some believe it's nothing more than a mask, poor lighting, shadows obscuring his features, or a camera artifact caused by compression and low image quality. But others weren't convinced. Several paranormal-minded viewers pointed out that faceless apparitions have appeared in folklore for centuries. Across different cultures, there are stories of entities that imitate human appearance while lacking key human features, particularly the face. In some traditions, a missing face is seen as a symbol of an identity that has been lost, hidden, or replaced. Other legends describe spirits that can mimic the form of a living person but fail to recreate every detail correctly, resulting in disturbing imperfections that reveal something is wrong. In the next clip, a man films himself in bed at night, his eyes wide and red, visibly terrified, saying he woke up during a fever and something was entering his room. Watch. The bedroom door slowly creaks open on its own, and then, in the widening gap of the doorframe, a tall, extremely thin humanoid figure appears. Long limbs, a disproportionately large round pale head, stepping into the room. The camera jerks away in panic, then back, and the figure is further inside, standing near the wall. Fever dream or not, the figure is specific in a way that's hard to explain away. A lot of viewers familiar with accounts of crawler-type entities pointed out that the proportions, the elongated limbs, the oversized head, the way it moves through a doorway rather than appearing suddenly, match descriptions that show up repeatedly in reported sightings. Others think it's a costume, a mask, someone willing to stand very still in the dark for the sake of a video. And maybe that's true. But if you've ever woken up at night convinced something was in your room, you know that the line between a fever dream and something real is exactly as thin as that creak of a door. And like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. What would it take for you to be sure which side of that line you were on? The following videos were all recorded inside the same home. And across these 3 clips, whatever has been happening here escalates from deeply unsettling to something that's genuinely hard to watch without feeling a chill. It starts in the middle of the night at 3:33 a.m. with a man waking his partner, a woman sitting on the edge of the bed in a dimly lit bedroom, 2 children sleeping behind her because something in the house doesn't sound right. Their baby daughter is asleep right there on the bed. She's not crying, and yet the sound of an infant wailing is echoing through the entire house, clearly audible, growing louder the closer you get to the staircase. He decides to go down and find out where it's coming from. Watch.
Ceci, ¿qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es, güey? 3:33, no mames. Y se escucha clarito, ¿eh?
Sí, ahora hace como la bebé, como la niña.
Es como si estuviera llorando ella, ¿verdad?
Sí. Es su llanto.
¿Mande?
Es su llanto, digo.
Voy a bajar a la máquina, güey, es que cada cosa. Oye. Voy a tener que salir. No, amigos, ya es bien tarde, ya mis hijos ya están dormidos. Los sonidos que hace mi hija cuando llora. Siempre dejamos focos prendidos, pero Padre Santo. Y aquí. Padre Santo. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino. Hágase tu voluntad, así en la tierra como en el cielo. Bueno.
As he moves through the darkened downstairs rooms, the tiled floors, the rocking chair faintly visible, the refrigerator casting a pale shape in the dark, the crying grows louder, as though it's concentrated in the one room straight ahead. He begins to whisper the Lord's Prayer. Then he stops, he gasps, and he runs. The camera whips back up the stairs in a blur of panic, and the video cuts out. What he saw in that dark room, something in the rocking chair, a shape that was enough to make him abandon the prayer mid-sentence, isn't fully visible to the camera, but his reaction tells you everything you need to know. Some viewers think the disembodied crying is consistent with what's often described as a residual haunting, a looping imprint of a past event replaying itself in the space. Others believe something was using that sound deliberately, mimicking the child to draw someone down into the dark. That distinction matters because one implies a passive echo and the other implies intent. It didn't stop there. In this next clip, the same man is back downstairs alone. Hours later, his family's still asleep upstairs, and the house is doing something new. Watch.
Ay, ¿quién anda ahí? Deja de molestar. Les voy a mostrar, vean. Escuché un niño. Acabo de escuchar un niño. Qué loco, cabrón, qué loco. Miren, por si piensan que es alguien de mi familia. Vean a mi familia dónde está. Tantito nada más, tantito. Verga. Miren a mi esposa, a mis hijos. Tantito nomás. Miren. No se ven. Ahí está mi esposa, chicos, no se ven. Están dormidos. Miren. Ya están dormidos.
Y para ejecutar aquello que yo deseo hacer, el fin que con tu ayuda quiero conseguir. Oh poderoso Satanás, único Dios verdadero que vive y reina por los siglos de los siglos, te ruego que inspires a Mamón, príncipe de la avaricia, para que se manifieste ante mi presencia y me conceda la respuesta.
The Alexa device in a room lit entirely by red LED strips activates on its own, not with a generic response, but with an apparent lecture about Mammon, a demonic figure described in medieval theological tradition as the Prince of Greed, said to embody corrupt wealth and spiritual corruption. Then he sees something strange standing in the shadows. Watch.
Está en las sombras. Me van a tomar a loco, raza, pero allí está, lo juro por Dios. En el nombre de Jesús. En el nombre de Jesús. Escucharon el lamento. Yo lo estoy viendo clarito lo estoy viendo, como nunca se ha dejado ver. Y no es uno, son varios. Se ven sus rostros en la parte de arriba, miren cómo se ven. Son varios. Ahí está. Ahí está. Ahí está. Ahí está. Ahí está. Ahí está. Yo lo vi moverse. Miren, 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 miren. Miren, 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 miren. Puta madre, güey.
Something pale, tall, and impossibly thin lunges from the side of that doorway directly at the camera, and the footage cuts. Whether the Alexa activations were triggered by a pre-recorded routine or by something else entirely is the first argument that fills every comment section on this video. But the pale figure at the end is harder to explain away. It moves with a speed and a shape that doesn't match anything ordinary. Some viewers familiar with demonology pointed immediately to the Mammon connection, arguing that whatever was in that house had been invited in, knowingly or not, through whatever was stored or played on that device. For those who followed shadow figure cases, the shapes standing in that dark doorway fit what's often described as shadow people, dark, humanoid presences that tend to cluster in liminal spaces like doorways and staircases, and are reported across cultures and traditions going back centuries. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. Now, in this next clip, filmed in what appears to be the same home, a man notices something standing behind a frosted glass door. A silhouette, small and still, the size of a child. Watch.
Para que tú los ayudes, Señor Jesús, y que ellos caminen, Dios mío, Señor, en tu verdad, para que ellos, Dios mío, caminen, prosperen, estén bien, Señor, guárdalos. Guárdalos, Dios mío, de cualquier cosa, Dios mío, que quiera acecharlo, cualquier trampa del enemigo, cualquier cosa que el enemigo quiera poner, cuídalos, Señor, guárdalos, protégelos, porque ellos son tuyos, Señor Jesús.
Miren lo que estoy grabando, amigos. Ya no puedo estar ni en mi casa tranquilamente, vean. Se ve claramente la silueta ahí. Es pequeño, amigos, como de un niño. Chicos. ¿Ya vieron? Ahí está, vean, ahí se ve más claro. Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino, hágase tu voluntad, así en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy el pan de cada día. Perdona nuestras ofensas, así como nosotros perdonamos a quien nos ofende. No nos dejes caer en tentación y líbranos del mal. Amén.
The figure doesn't move. It just stands there on the other side of the glass while he films it, his voice dropping into a shaking whisper. He says he can't be in his own house peacefully anymore. He begins to recite the Lord's Prayer, and the moment he finishes, Amen, the keys hanging in the door lock begin to rattle violently, as if something on the other side reacted to those specific words. He retreats through the house fast, camera swinging past the guitar case, the rocking chair, the kitchen, and the stairs. A child-sized shadow that appears at the exact moment a prayer ends and shakes the door on its final word. You decide what that means. The following clip was filmed at night, inside what appears to be a dimly lit room, by a man hiding underneath a long table covered with a white tablecloth. He's pressed flat against the floor, phone propped outward from his hiding spot, breathing so heavily it's the dominant sound in the room. Wide eyes, clearly terrified, not moving an inch. Watch. A figure in a long white gown steps out of an illuminated doorway and moves slowly, deliberately into the dark room. Barefoot, stiff, its movements just slightly off in a way that's hard to pin down. The man doesn't run. He stays completely frozen under that table as the figure crosses the background. And then the sounds start. Frantic, high-pitched giggling that builds into something far less human, layering into screams and a deep guttural roar right before the clip cuts to black. Some viewers think the disembodied child's voice and the robed figure represent two separate presences, possibly one luring and one pursuing. Others believe the sounds at the end aren't coming from the figure at all. So what exactly was hiding in that room with him? Now, in this next clip, a woman is at home in the middle of the day filming herself talking when something from inside the house stops her mid-sentence. Watch.
I wish there was an easier way to get my daughter to start being able to put everything. Yeah? Sarah? Sarah? You say something? Did you hear that? Sarah? Sarah? Sarah?
She searches the whole house, moving through hallways and rooms, calling Sarah's name, and then, while she's still walking, two faint, high-pitched sounds respond. Not a child's voice, something else entirely. Many viewers think whatever called out that first mommy was mimicking a child's voice to draw her attention, a tactic associated in a lot of paranormal traditions with entities that lure people by sounding familiar and safe. The sounds that follow don't match anything visible in the house. Sarah never answered. So what was it that called for her mother first? The following clip was recorded at night inside a house that, according to the man filming, had already been giving both of them reasons to pay attention. The two men had apparently been noticing the double doors at the end of the hallway behaving strangely, opening on their own without explanation. So on this particular night, one of them decided to test it. With a black spatula still in hand from the kitchen, he walks down the hallway, pushes both doors firmly shut, turns back toward the camera, and gestures as if to say, "See, they're closed." The camera person confirms it. There's no wind in there. They settle in to wait. Watch.
Wait, if that's fully shut. Now, right, now let's just sit and wait. He's just fucking lurking. Oh, go off! What? Nah. What the fuck?
About 20 seconds after the doors are latched, the right one swings open smoothly and deliberately, with nothing and no one near it. The reaction is immediate. The camera person shouts in complete shock, and their little dachshund wanders over to investigate what they can't. If you watch the door's movement carefully, there's no hesitation, no rattling first. It just opens. Skeptics would point to an unlatched mechanism or air pressure from the kitchen, but the man had just confirmed it clicked shut. So what opened it? In this next clip, someone is lying in bed alone at night, phone in hand, when something in the room stops them cold. Not something they see directly, but something caught in the reflection of a mirrored wardrobe door across the room. The dim lighting, the shaky camera, the panicked breathing, all of it suggests they've already convinced themselves something is wrong before the recording even starts. Watch. The reflection shows the dark space underneath the bed, cluttered and hard to read clearly, but somewhere in those shapes, they're certain they can make out a figure. That panicked breathing doesn't stop. Skeptics point to pareidolia, the brain's tendency to find human shapes in random patterns, especially in low light. But if you've ever lain in bed in the dark wondering what's underneath you, you'll understand exactly why that breathing sounds the way it does. In this next clip, a family is spending an evening at a fast food restaurant when the woman filming notices something unsettling in the large window that looks into the children's playground area. The playground is fully visible from where they're standing, brightly lit, colorfully decorated, and clearly empty. But in the glass's reflection, there's a dark, human-shaped figure sitting perfectly still at one of the tables inside. Watch.
¿Alguien que me explique?
Porque hay una persona ahí, pero no está aquí.
¿Qué onda con esta falla de la Matrix? Sigo sin entender qué pedo.
Mira, ¿qué le va a tomar? ¿Qué le va a tomar?
Te lo juro, delante de Dios que me está oyendo y me está escuchando. Fuimos a la esquina y no había nadie. O sea, nadie cerca de aquí para que...
¿Dónde está esa persona? Es el mejor.
The family immediately checks the actual playground, panning the camera back and forth between the reflection and the empty space, and the figure never moves, never disappears. The little girl even walks up to the glass to peer inside herself, swearing before God that she went and looked around the corner and found nobody there. That alone is hard to dismiss. Some viewers think it's a trick of the lighting, a reflection from somewhere else in the restaurant bending across the glass at just the right angle. Others aren't so sure, because if you watch the reflection closely, it stays completely consistent as the camera moves, which isn't typical of a simple optical artifact. So who was that? And why was he there?